So, as I promised, I would be doing a first impressions slash review of Kagurabachi Chapter 1, and to be completely honest with you, the series does definitely have potential. Now, let's hope that thanks to everything going on and some of the negatives I have on the series is kind of like using the reverse curse technique from Jujutsu Kaisen that will allow this series to flourish and become very popular. Because at the very least, the fan base that is already garnered before this first chapter even came out is kind of unhinged. And if you don't believe me, let me show you, okay? Before I even dive into this chapter, someone went out of their way already before the first chapter came out and made fan-made soundtracks for the series. Like, I'm not gonna play this whole thing because I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, but like someone legit posted this and there's fan-made songs. It's just like, it's kind of a little bit unhinged, and all I can really do is just be in awe of the sheer dedication to the series and the meme. Because FYI, the whole reason why you probably have heard about Kagurabachi already is because it started off as a meme that, this series, is going to be crazy good or whatever, and it just, it kind of spiraled out of control, and now you have people that are just falling headfirst in the meme and just saying this is the best series ever, and then you have those that are just, they truly do believe it is the next big thing, and it's just, it's a crazy fan base that this series has already kind of gained, even before the first chapter came out. I don't think I've really ever seen anything quite like what this series has done. I've seen some interesting communities, toxic communities, like hive mind communities, different communities, etc. But I gotta admit, Kagurabachi has definitely done something different. If there is one thing it has done, it has built a community, and a huge community at that, before even the first chapter. And also, we gotta talk about this as well. I saw this post, and this one really got me too. This post is literally a fan-made edit of the chapter, and I'm not gonna once again play the whole thing because of copyright, etc. But it's like someone made a fan-made edit of the chapter, and it looks really good. Holy crap, it looks good. And once again, it goes to such an unhinged level. It's like I cannot help but just be in awe of the dedication. There is some extreme dedication. So, in its own way, I do hope that this series does succeed and it's successful, because the love it's already getting does speak volumes, and I think that is a very special thing. So, with all that out of the way, let's talk about Kagurabachi Chapter 1, and if it's good, if it's bad, does it have potential, will it get axed, is it just straight up an industry plant manga that is just a carbon copy of other series? Let's just get all into it, okay? And before I go any further, I do want to make it very clear that I do want this series to succeed. I want it to be popular, I want it to succeed, and since this is the mangaka's first work from what I can gather, I want this to be popular. I want them to be able to express this world and bring it to life, because there is some heavy potential here. But I'm still going to critique it because this is something that, needs to be critiqued, and first impressions do matter. So, the first chapter opens up with finding out that our main character is a swordsmith apprentice. He is in training underneath his father, that is a legendary swordsmith that was capable of making some iconic swords, so legendary in fact that they had sorcery imbued within them. And that basically already lets you know that this series will have elements of supernatural, maybe even demons within it, since sorcery, magic, and stuff is already in this. Now, a big thing that I got from this with just that alone, I was like, so this is very reminiscent of probably, Jujutsu Kaisen. It's very popular right now to have sorcery, magic, demons, etc. So having stuff like that within its story is very important, because the current trend right now in Weekly Shonen Jump, especially if you're a battle shonen, is to have something focused on demons and swords. Demon Slayer speaks for itself, but also, Jujutsu Kaisen. And obviously the series is trying to chase those trends, which there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Trends come and go. Think about 10 years ago, you had the whole zombie trend. Almost everything needed to have zombies within it. That was a huge trend, over a decade ago. And then eventually it fell out of love, and then it became heroes for a while, and then it became, as we know now, back into demons and cursed spirits, etc. That's the main popular thing right now, at least within manga. And obviously, eventually, the trends will cycle back around. We'll probably eventually get back to zombies and heroes again. It's just a cycle that happens with storytelling in manga and different forms of literature. And so it's completely fine for the series to try to chase those trends, because I think that, it's what's going to capture an audience. People are seeking more of the content that they currently enjoy, aka Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. And regardless if you love or hate those series, they are very popular. People love those series. And obviously, it's best to do what is popular and play it safe to a certain degree. And that's clearly what this series, at least from first impressions alone, is trying to do. Play it safe. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. There's nothing wrong with playing it safe. It just depends on how it's executed and displayed to its audience. So let's get into that. How is the world of this series? Because obviously, as I talked about, there's supernatural, there's sorcery, there's swordsmiths. So the first general impression you get with that description alone is that it's probably medieval Japan, ancient Japan and all that. That's what you think, especially with being a swordsmith. But as the chapter carries on and you get a little bit more information, you kind of find out basically that our characters are in modern day Japan, or close to modern day Japan, because you see trains, you see cars. It's not necessarily set in, the 21st century, but it is close to the modern era. So it does let us know that there is some technology here, that it's not just like, oh, we're going to be riding in wagons, on horses. You legitimately have cars and electricity, probably planes, all these different type of things. So because of that, there is a different level to the world building than what we probably expected with the general first impressions. So I think that's a good thing that it's trying to set somewhat in a more modern Japan instead of ancient Japan, because it's a little bit more relatable to people, but also kind of falls more in line with Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer as well, since those two series fundamentally are kind of closer to the modern era as well. Not fully, well, Jujutsu Kaisen is definitely closer, but Demon Slayer isn't. And you clearly see that, they're wanting to be in a middle ground between the two, at least with the way this series is presented. Now, going into the actual character. So we have this character right quick. We have our main male character, and you probably saw me post this either on the YouTube community post, or you saw me post this on Twitter, but we have this line right here that's already getting memed to death. So every day I start the morning with fresh hatred. And I've even memed this myself. Like, I'll even show an image here of me showing it. Like, someone posted this, and I had to post it. I was like, this is hilarious. You have the memes already being made for this series. It's actually pretty hilarious. I like this. It's a good thing that the series is already getting meme, because memes do bring a series to life to a degree. It brings fresh air into a community. And I know people are probably upset, like, oh, why are you memeing the series? Why are you critiquing the series? But even if memes do make fun of something, it does give it more publicity and popularity. And technically, in some cases, all publicity is good publicity. And that's what's kind of going on here. So getting back into the chapter, yes, let's be honest here. In context, the character basically says the reason why he wakes up every morning with fresh hatred is because, he washes his face every morning, he looks in the mirror, and he sees this scar, which basically reminds him of whatever horrific event happened, hinting at PTSD and something that happened within the span of those 30 or so months. That was a time skip at the beginning of the chapter. What it is implied within this chapter is that the main character's father died. That is what this chapter implies, that the main character's swordsmith father died to probably the sorcerer organization that seems to be the main baddie of this story, and, he's wanting to get vengeance, take them down to whatever degree, and probably the swords that he made probably were used to bring down his father. That's my educated guess by the way the chapter is presented. It's nothing too complex, but I do think that it gives motivation for the character of what he's doing. Once again, though, I do want to point out something, is that I think that this series in general, there's nothing wrong with having an edgy character. There's nothing wrong with a character having a motivation of wanting vengeance. I think there is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, the simplest plots, are the best. It garners more attention. And even if it is predictable to a degree of what's going on, and maybe he'll find out that vengeance isn't the best thing and all that, and it only brings more vengeance and hatred, I still think that these stories are very important to tell, because as much as that we probably have seen this storytelling often in a lot of different manga over the years, we do gotta remember what Shonen Jump is trying to do. It's trying to capture a new audience. That's exactly what it's for. It's the same thing of what I said with Black Clover, and I want to say this again. I want to rehash my opinion on that. Black Clover, from many people's perspective when they start the series, if they've watched a lot or read a lot of manga, they will think that Black Clover is the most generic series they've ever seen. It doesn't try anything new, it's not really anything innovative, so to speak, at least in the early stages. It just seems like a carbon copy of so many things that came before it. But that series wasn't actually made for old fans. It was actually made for newcomers, people that have never experienced stories like Black Clover, and garnered a whole new fan base into Shonen Jump. And in this case, I feel like this character in this storyline is trying to do exactly that. Maybe not to the exact same degree, but at the very least, it's general populace, that the people that's trying to kind of cater towards is those that are not used to revenge stories, or maybe this might be their first introduction into revenge stories, and also swordsmithing, etc., because swords and katanas are kind of like in tune with, Japanese history, so everything about this really kind of fits in line with those wanting to learn more about history of Japan, maybe with swordsmiths, maybe, myths and folklore, and also just what vengeance actually means. So I feel like this series also is kind of catering towards newcomers, which, once again, I think there's nothing wrong with that, because we got to think about this. Japan, a lot of their long-running series are coming to an end, but they're not fully ended yet, and they do want to capture a new audience as well that will stick around for a very long time. They're looking for their next great hit, and I feel like this series is trying to do just that. Now, besides all that, we need to also talk about the actual violence within the chapter. You can clearly see just from this page alone, there is a lot of blood, a lot of violence, and it's honestly pretty shocking. I was shocked by the amount that was shown, because yeah, there is violence within Weekly Shonen Jump manga, yes, but still, for the first chapter, it still took me by surprise. I didn't expect as much as we got within this with just the character cutting people up and stuff, because, at the end of the day, Shonen Jump is supposed to, when it comes to main characters, they're supposed to kind of be hopeful to a degree. That's usually the general impression. They're supposed to be bubbly, hopeful, have these big, ambitious dreams and all that, but that's clearly not the case with this MC. And I think that's an interesting contrast that you can kind of really talk about. It can be its own separate video, but main characters of Shonen Jump have shifted from what they were about a decade ago, hell, even 5 years ago, because, think about it, you got characters like Naruto, Luffy, Goku, they're bubbly, okay? They're bubbly characters. Yes, they have some dark parts to them, but they're bubbly characters. They have moments of weakness where they have anger, sadness, but overall, their general attitude is just happiness. And seeing a character like this, just starting off very aggressive, very vengeance-orientated, it's very different from what Shonen Jump used to be like, and I think the reason why we're getting more characters like this is probably because of series like maybe Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, probably mainly Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, because it's now more in for MCs to be gray than black or white. It's better for them to actually have a moral compass in the middle of everything and not necessarily be a goody-goody two-shoes or a straight-up villain. It's better for them to be in the middle because they feel more relatable to people, and I think that's what Shonen Jump is definitely trying to do nowadays with their main characters. But, yeah, anyways, getting back on point, though, the series' first chapter is legitimately interesting. It's good. It's a good first chapter. I don't think that this is anything groundbreaking. I think it plays very safe, which, once again, there's nothing wrong with playing safe, but I do think that because of how safe it's playing, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel or do anything different within the Shonen Jump manga magazine. I think it's just the typical. Now, the big question is, will Japan like this? And all the ways that this series is presented kind of points to it probably will be. And the reason why I say that is because we got to think about what made Demon Slayer very popular. Obviously, besides the art and animation of the anime. It was popular as a manga because of just the swords and just the take on Japan, ancient Japan and all that, and folklore. It resonated with a lot of Japanese audience. And so when you think about it like that with swordsmithing and katanas, it's definitely trying to do the exact same thing that Demon Slayer tried to do. So I think that this series does have that potential to make the Japanese audience enjoy it, and if that does happen, then this means that the series will survive. It's not going to get axed. Because regardless of how many memes, etc. of the series is made and how edgy they can be or whatever, it doesn't matter if Japan hates it. If Japan hates this manga, it's not going to continue. But if Japan loves it and the entire West hates it, it doesn't matter. It will continue. So it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is that we got to see how Japan feels about this in a few weeks. And if they enjoy it, then the series will stick around. But I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.